welcome back. Dr. Anetta here, your transition advisor, helping you to establish your walk in womanhood, marriage, and motherhood without compromising your values, your vision, or your voice. All right, so today we have a new guest. Our guest for this week is Mrs. LaMetria West. So, LaMetria is from Dallas, Texas. She's an alumnus of Texas Tech University, where she began her interest in biological science, and she continued her graduate studies at St. Thomas University in Miami, Florida. She's a clinical research associate with over 20 years of experience in biological science research. Demetria is very active in her church. She's a part of her women's ministry, prayer and decision ministry, leader of the youth and dance ministry, and she's also a co-founder of a youth girl mentoring program at her church. But one of Lametria's greatest joys. So let's just start off, Lametria. I want to know who influenced you, or who influenced the kind of woman that you were growing up.
Um, I would definitely say, of course, not to say it sound cliche, but of course, my mother and my grandmother. I was a grandmother's baby, so as I get older and wiser, I've learned that I'm a lot like her, and so they definitely were inspiring me. But I also will say that a lot of women in the church who knowingly and unknowingly knew that I was looking at them. I was watching them. I, talk, ask questions, and I kept going through this journey of life or whatever. But I also watched them on how they carry themselves, not only at church but outside of church as well, because sometimes there could be a difference. So, so.
Go to Instagram.
Right. so I watch both, and so that, and I would say just on this journey of life, it's been just different women across a board. Maybe there have been teachers, there have been just women in general at work, or things like that, who have kind of guided me and helped me just on this journey of life, from being a woman now, and as my journey was becoming a woman. So
I definitely think that is definitely a almost unanimous answer. Almost, that you pointed out something that was really important. You didn't just leave it at your mom and your grandmother. You had a community of women that you were purposely paying attention to and watching. So that when we have other women around us, or we're watching or being attentive to other women and how they're doing life on the journey, we get to pick up some of those things that maybe our mothers didn't necessarily have, or that wasn't their something that they focused on a lot. So I think that's important when you say, a community of women.
Right, because your journey of life is going, is going to always be different. You're going to always be in different environments of your journey of life too. And so in those different environments, you're not going to always have mom and grandma there in those environments. So then you need to have someone that who can guide you when you're in that time, in that season of your life, that season of your journey. And so you need to have that person that you're looking at, that you can go and talk to, that maybe you see there where you want to be. So you go and talk to them, and you ask them, how did you get there? Or you see their demeanor and how they carry themselves, and those things that helps you along the way or whatever, because sometimes, depending on where that area is at, depending on where that season is at in that time, I would say of where the culture is at during that time around, your grandmother and mother may not understand that, because their culture was a little bit more old school, where you have to adapt to the new school. So when you have women that's around your age or a little bit older than you, but yet they're still within your generation, they're able to help you out in those aspects, on how to handle things as you continue on your journey.
So good, women. When we're on our journey, we do have to be, pay attention to the season that another woman is in, the time or the age of that woman, and where she is on that journey. When we are observing her, when we are receiving advice from her, that's really important, because know, they are at different. We all are at different places.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
journey. Okay. So, was it important for your mom and your grandmother to instill the type of woman that they wanted you to be? Did they give you some type of blueprint or framework for you should be this type of woman?
So one thing that I like that I would say that my mom and my grandmother both did that they also let me be free of my own thoughts and what I wanted because they didn't want to feel like they pushed me into something that I didn't even want to do or that there wasn't enough interest of me just because they wanted me to do it. And so they were really, really good with that and making sure that I had my own thoughts or whatever. And then also maybe just because I'm like them and we are very strong minded. So they really probably was like, well, she probably won't listen anyway, but but they were really good with that. But I would say that the one thing that keep me even to this day, and is that my grandmother always told me when, and this is from like middle school going up or whatever, and she always would say, carry yourself to where when you walk by someone, and well, when someone walks by you, they have to stop and look at you again.
Mm.
And so I used to be like, what does she mean? So when I was younger, when I was much younger, I thought that she meant like, oh, okay, I need to be cute. Let me keep my hair together. That's what I would, wardrobe together, make sure I look decent and nice. Because I was thinking about the exterior portion of me.
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
not thinking about the internal portion of me. But
Ah.
as I got older, and as I
Mhm.
got more, and as I got older, I kept on this journey as a woman, and more importantly, my journey in my relationship with God. As I got closer to God, I realized that she was not talking about my external appearance. She was talking about spiritually and filled in the internal side of me. That
Mm.
because of me and who the God that's within me, that the spirit is so much on me that when someone passed by me, that they can feel it, that they have to stop and look at me again and see who that woman is. And so
Oh.
that is why I constantly try to keep that going. And I feel like because of that, that made me be aware of when I was doing things, in college. It made me be aware of how I carried myself. It made me be aware of how, certain decisions that can make me not carry myself as much of a woman as I should,
Mhm.
and it keeps me on this journey now as a woman as well as a mother of making sure that I always want to make sure that, no matter what, that when someone passes by me, that because of the spirit that's within me, because of who I am, and because of the way I carry myself, that when they pass by me, that they feel it too, whether they have the spirit within them or not, or they love God or they don't know God, that some within me makes me be acquired of why is even if in the midst of my season of maybe if things not going right,
Mhm.
yet still I carry a strong spirit of that I know things are going to be okay, that they feel it too.
That's really good. That's really good because I feel like now, and that's not a feeling, we know now with all of the social media platforms, it's a lot
Mm-hmm.
for the exterior development that's going on. Like we really
Mm-hmm.
develop what people can see on the outside, and we're not spending as much time developing our character. And that stuff is in the dark, done in the dark. And you don't come out. It's just like when Paul was, he had his Damascus Road experience and he met
Yeah.
Jesus. But then
Mm-hmm.
we don't think about this, or I don't know if we read this, but Paul went into the desert of Arabia, I think for like 2 or 3 years before he came back out. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
it's a process also along the journey of and I think, LaMetria, that it happens maybe different phases of the journey. It's not just a time where
Mm-hmm.
you say, okay, my character has been developed, I'm good. Sometimes
Right.
there are seasons where you like, I need to just, be quiet for a little bit. I need to be still
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. I don't want to be a part of everything that I'm used to being a part of. I need to pull away because in this season, I know that God is pulling me to develop something else out of me.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really, really good when you say
Yeah, and you know it. You know it when you're in that season, when you're realizing that just need to take a step back, and I need to reevaluate myself and who I am and what I'm doing, and that's when you need to get into that quiet time, and that's when you need to get into that prayer room, and that's when you need to just sit back and say, who am I? What am I doing to make myself better? Because if you make yourself better, then you can make those around you better. So, yeah, you know when it is, you feel it and know it.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do know
Mhm.
it. So that was so good. I'm just, people need to be able to recognize you. Mm, that's really good.
Yeah. And you don't know that at the time when she, like I said, she told me very young, very, very young. And at the time, that just shows the maturity
Mm-hmm.
as you continue on in your journey of life, because at the time when she told me, like I said, my thought process was totally different.
Right, right, exactly. Right. Right.
It was, right. It was totally different. But then when I got older and I realized it, and I was like, oh, this is what she is saying. But it took someone else telling me that for me
Mm-hmm.
to realize it took someone else telling me that. Then I was like, that's what she was telling me. It's like they want to feel that someone else needs to feel that when they pass by me, because of who I am and who I have within me. And it took that someone is saying, no matter what you go through, you're still, you're still strong. I still feel the spirit within you. Still praising God, no matter what the situation is or whatever. You always carry yourself correctly, and as a lady.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that when someone tells me you are such a woman, you are
Mm-hmm.
such a lady. I pride myself in that because I'm like, okay, well then I'm
Say that
completing
again.
this
Wait a minute.
journey.
Say that again.
Oh,
People saying what?
yeah, that you are such a lady, you are such a woman, you carry yourself as such a woman. I love that because then
I
that
love
means
that too,
I
Lee.
am presenting myself the way as I should.
Mhm.
And I'm making my grandmother proud. She's not here anymore, but I'm making her proud too. So, yeah.
Mhm. Yes, that's something really big. Like to be told, that's the compliment.
Yeah.
That one of the ultimate compliments. One is well done, good and not got good, thy good and faithful servant. And right
Mhm.
now on this earth, though, that
Yeah.
was what you said. You carry
Hmm.
yourself as like a woman. I love that. So, can you give us at least one lesson that you've learned along this journey of womanhood? One major lesson, and it can be several if you want, but one that you think has stood out the most for you.
That I may not always get it right.
Mm-hmm.
That I may fall, but as long as I continue to get up and not give up,
Mm-hmm.
that on the other end, I will have a blessing in
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And that I've learned that sometimes, and when I say that I don't always get it right, that sometimes when you're going through a season, especially if it's a season, season of sickness, a season of, death, or those, those hard seasons,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you don't always go straight to, Lord, how you go help me with this?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you go into that flesh of saying, how I'm gonna go fix this, or
Mm-hmm.
how I'm gonna change this. And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes, so that's why sometimes I don't always get it right the first time, because I may go flesh more, and then I want to go more spiritual and saying, I know you're going to work this out. I know you showed me your track record. You're gonna work this out.
Mm-hmm.
And but I also learned that anything you're going through is never a failure. It's just a lesson for you
It's
to get
just,
better than what you was the first time, what you did the first time. You never make a mistake. You just
mm-hmm.
all you did was just made yourself taught yourself a lesson.
There you
So
go.
never look at anything that happens in your life as a mistake or whatever. Just learn. You just taught a lesson, which not to do the next time.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. Just look at, okay, that's what I did. I didn't do it at the right time. That's okay. That's the same thing. You taking a test at school. You may not get it do good the first time, but then when you go, you learn some more. You go and study some more, and then you go take that test, and you end up acing it
Right.
because you learn from your mistake the first time.
That's so.
So, so that's the thing. Those are the ways of that I've learned in this journey. That be okay with yourself. I learned to be okay with myself if I don't get it right the first time, because I know there's going to be another time, and I'm going to learn from the first time to be better the second.
That's really good because I don't think we as Black women sometimes we don't give ourselves grace, therefore we don't give each other grace. And when you say
Yes.
that, that's big on
Hmm.
the journey of womanhood,
Hmm.
extending grace to you and you extend grace to me. Like that's really
Yeah.
big for us all to learn, regardless of what season we're in, because the Bible even tells us a righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets
Hmm.
the
It gets back up.
he gets back up. And so if
Hmm.
he can say, and demonic evil man, he said a righteous man, somebody
Yes.
right standing with him falls 7 times,
Hmm.
but he gets back up. And I like that you said that because sometimes that is hard for us as women, because if you don't really extend grace to yourself, you're probably not going to be easily extending it to other women either.
Mm-mm.
And so
No.
that's something that I do make sure I not make sure I try my best to work on that area of, am I extending grace to my own self? Because if
Right.
I'm not, if I'm hard on myself, as you said, then I'm probably 9 times out of 10 gonna be hard on other
Right.
women.
Other
And
people.
we don't
Right.
we don't want to do that. So
Mm-mm.
basically, how well am I stewarding myself so I can help steward others, my friends, my sisters, everybody on
Hmm.
the. And so I think that was so good because, yeah, sometimes we struggle with extending grace. And
Right. And I think another thing that I really focus on is it really the saying is don't judge a book by its cover.
mm-hmm,
I have learned to when I even though someone else may not you may not agree with what someone else is doing, you may not y'all might have different beliefs, you may have different just thoughts of how something should be, played out in a sense
mm-hmm,
that it's okay to disagree with what they're doing, but don't judge them and put them down because of what they are doing. Just
mm-hmm,
say, hey, I probably wouldn't do. That's not what I want to do. That's my belief. That's not what I'm. But don't put them down because they have a different belief than you.
mm-hmm,
Don't judge a book by a cover in the sense of that just because they look a certain way, then you already just want to judge them and who they are,
mm-hmm,
because you know, you see someone looking a certain way, you're like, they may not be the wisest person. That probably be the smartest person ever on earth, like have the highest IQ. So I've
mm-hmm,
learned to not judge. And then when I want to get to that point of in my mind when I may have judged somebody, I catch myself. And I was like,
mm-hmm,
no, I don't know that person. And I've learned
mm-hmm,
that you never know the whole story.
mm-hmm,
So just because you hear only what I would say the news put out there, which is probably only 10% of the actual story,
mm-hmm.
you should not. Yes. Right. You should not just automatically go and draw your own conclusion because you don't know the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just sit back and say, hey, if I don't know it, I just pray that they're good, that it works out or whatever, or that they change their mind and they do better,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. So don't judge them,
Mm-hmm.
just hey, I hope it work out for them. That's my thing. I'm always like, it'll work out.
Right, yeah, just being hopeful and prayerful. I mean, I
Hmm.
think you said the key thing along the journey, that's what we can do for each other. Each
Hmm.
woman on this journey, I can commit to praying for you. Even if I
Right.
don't know you, I'm in close relationship with you. If I see you, in a distance and I'm like, oh man, I don't really have that type of rapport or that type of relationship with that woman, but I don't know if that's gonna go like she wanted to go. But I
Hmm.
think, as you have said, pray for that person.
Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
that's something that we can and we should take seriously. Praying
Mhm.
for each other. Let's pray for
Right.
each other on this journey. Pray for me.
Right, exactly. I want you to pray all day. I'm fine, okay? Please pray for me.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
I really am intentional about that. I don't have to know you, but I can see you. I can see something going on in the store, in the mall,
Hmm.
or whatever. And I'm like, man, that's sad. And immediately I'm going to start, praying and asking
Hmm.
God to cover them or the situation. So I think
Hmm.
on our womanhood journey, be prayerful, don't judge. That is really, really, that's really important and needed on the journey.
Yeah.
Okay. So, LaMetria, you have two children. You have a son and a
Hmm.
daughter.
Hmm.
how intentional are you about your daughter's journey into womanhood, becoming a young lady, becoming a young woman, a woman?
Mm-hmm. It's I think that is like the number one thing. I'm very, very, very intentional about one being an example for her.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's number one. It's been an example for her. And when I say being an example for her, I be an example for her in the sense of I'm not trying to be that perfect woman. That
Mm-hmm.
I would let her know that I have some faults,
Mm-hmm.
but I recognize the faults that I have. But what am I going to do with those faults? Am I going to make them better, or am I just going to keep them like you just have to deal with them?
Mm-hmm.
So I let her know. I have no problem letting her know, mommy's tired today. Let her
Mm-hmm.
know that it's okay as a woman to be tired.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, I let her know no is okay and feel okay about saying no. Don't
Mm-hmm.
feel guilty about it.
It's
You
a
know,
complete sentence.
yeah, it's a complete sentence. No, it's complete, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, and so, um, and so these are the things that I want to let her know that it's real on this journey,
Mm-hmm.
and but I make sure that I'm intentional with her of I tell her, just like my grandmother told me, I was like, present yourself always and carry yourself so that when someone passed by you, they have to stop and turn around and look at you again. I tell her that still today. I tell her that now. Now,
Mm-hmm.
just like me, at this point in her life, that's probably what she's thinking about. Ooh, I need to be cute. I need to, that's probably what she may be thinking about. But
Mm-hmm.
I know at some point, if I keep on instilling in her, if I keep her, in church, we pray together as a family, those things that I do, she will grow to learn as I did of what I'm talking about when I say that. You
Mm-hmm.
I'm intentional on telling her to go for what you want to go for. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I I'm fine. Like I tell my kids, both of them, I don't push anything on them, and I think that's the kind of, and it's probably just when I was raised that way. Like they didn't push. You need to do that. You have to be this. You need to be this lawyer, or you need to be this whatever. I want you to be what you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
All I ask you is just get a bachelor's for me. Past that, you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to do anything. Just get a bachelor's for me. That's all we ask. Just that one little thing, and that's all we ask. But I try to be intentional on showing her also because they are in a different time than we are.
Mm-hmm.
I have come to appreciate. I have come to learn that as a mother, you want your daughter to come talk to you about everything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
she does talk to me about a lot of stuff. But I've also come to realize now that she's a teenager that, they forget that mommy used to be a teenager too. So we kind of can understand what you're going through, but they don't see that.
No, they don't.
And so they feel more comfortable maybe talking to someone else about some certain things or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or think that mommy might get mad about what they want to talk about or something like that. So I'm very intentional in trying to be very open with her,
Mm-hmm.
being honest with her, real with her. She's 13. So of course we got to have those conversations of, yeah, those are conversations of you becoming a young lady now.
Yeah, there you go. Another transition in your
Yeah,
journey. Mm-hmm.
yeah, of your journey. And so I have to be very honest with her on those things.
Mm-hmm.
We were a
You're,
teenager at one point. It is different for them now. It's different from them than when I was 13, when we were 13. It's
right.
different for them now. So
Mm-hmm.
I have to be intentional on making sure that I realize that it is different in some areas. And so if she's not comfortable or she does not feel that I understand it, and she say, "Well, I want to talk to someone maybe that's in their 20s because they maybe understand a little bit more," not to be offended by that, but I'm intentional saying, okay, well, let me get you to talk to someone. I already want to pull other women for her to talk to and to mentor her now,
Yeah.
because I feel that that is going to help her longer in the long run. And don't be offended by it because it's just something that I may not understand,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm okay with that. But I'm also intentional on her having confidence in herself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and not feeling that she needs to have confidence in herself in what she sees on Instagram or on TikTok. or whatever.
Right.
You don't have to have the long lashes. You don't have to have the long hair all the way down to, your bottom. You don't have, that's not what is making you that young lady. It's who you are within. So I'm very intentional on making sure she have that confidence within herself to know that you are beautiful on the outside without all the extra. And but if you are beautiful on the inside, because I was like, just because they pretty on the outside, don't mean they pretty on the inside. So like, make sure your inside is taken care of, because that will show on the outside. So I'm very intentional on telling her that over and over.
Oh, you steering her. You steering her. I can feel it. She's ready for the journey.
Yes, because it's a hard one.
Yeah, and it's long too. And you
Yes.
want to make sure you are receiving advice that is sound wisdom. It's wisdom. People season whatever they share with you, their advice, their point of view, their perspective with you, and it can be seasoned with all kinds of stuff along the journey. But as you share, that's just wisdom. And even when you were talking, as you said, preparing her to be able to talk to other women. I think that that's important, because sometimes as mothers, we feel possessive and we feel like, no, I don't want anybody else talking to my daughter or my children. And you have to get ready for that phase along the journey, that your children may not want to come and share with you what they would share with someone else. And best to be proactive as you are when it comes to that, as I am. I want them, Maya and Anaya, to be able to talk, period. Like, you need to be able to share whatever it is that's on your mind, as in a respectful way. But yeah, I think that that's so important for us as mothers to hear that, because sometimes we think that our kids may be telling us everything, and no, they're not going to tell you everything. And we
And
didn't
you know
tell
what,
everything,
right.
we didn't tell our parents everything because we didn't feel comfortable.
Right, exactly. And I understand that. So I knew it's one of those, I used to be a teenager too. And
Right.
so, you realize I didn't tell my mom everything. And, sometimes I didn't feel comfortable talking to her about it. So I talked to my older cousin about it, or something like that. Or I go talk to, like, maybe one of the young women at the church, who I call my big sister or something, or something like that. You talk to someone else about it. So my thing is, what I'm intentional on is who she talks to. You know what I'm saying? But so that's why I try to focus on that, who you talk to, because it may not be, I feel, the way that their life is going. I would so much want yours to go that way. But I'm okay. Yeah, but I'm okay with some people who may not quite have the, I guess, journey that you want for your child. But sometimes those are the best ones, because their journey, and because they're not where they should be at, they tell them what to do, not to do, so they won't be where they're at now.
Yes,
You know what
what
I'm
not.
saying? So I that goes into not judging them. They're realizing that they know where they're at and probably don't want to be there. So they go tell my daughter, hey, these are the mistakes I made, and I don't want you to make these same mistakes.
Absolutely. I think that's so good. That's so good. That's so good. Absolutely. Yeah. I know that obviously your daughter is in amazing hands, but even the women that are listening that may not even have children yet, you may not be on that journey of motherhood yet. But these are pearls that LaMetria is dropping and helping us all to understand. Whenever I do get there, this is something that's important along the journey. Where are you on your journey? Or just let me know, how are you embracing wherever you are? Like, what's your inspiration? What do you draw from to get you to, the next spot along the journey?
Good question. I think I I think I'm in that journey right now. In my journey is, believe it or not, is that journey of learning how to say no, to be able to take care of myself. I'm in that journey of trying to learn how to take care of me so that I can be better to serve others. And so I think I have really lacked in that, of I've said yes way too much,
Mm,
and that I've felt it all the time like I used to, but also realizing that because I am getting, I call it wiser, because
mhm,
I'm getting wiser, I know that I need to make sure I'm taking care of myself mentally
mhm,
and physically,
mhm,
because so that I can be better on this journey of becoming wiser as a woman. And so I think it's that focus of stepping back and staying on the inside of becoming better, focusing on that journey of just saying, I need to sit down and I need to go in the closet and I need to be by myself and I
mhm,
need to look and see where where am I at now and where am I trying to go and what I need to do in between that to get there,
mhm,
because I'm doing so much for everyone else to get to where they need to go, but I need to focus on where LaMetria needs to go.
mhm,
Because sometimes I find myself, because you're so busy, that I find myself not reading that word as much. Or
mhm,
now, and prayer wise, I can say I got that, because
mhm, mhm,
I pray out through the day.
mhm, mhm,
But I feel I need to get deeper within
mhm.
myself so that I can know how to be that better person, so that I can help others to be better.
Oh, I love that, Lamidria. That was so just vulnerable. We all have places where we're not strong at, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I love how you just shared that. And it's just the self awareness that you have,
Mm-hmm.
right? I feel like that's a level of self awareness that you gain along the journey of woman. Always start off with that level of self
Yeah.
awareness that you have.
Yeah.
And sometimes we focus on the negative or the what I don't have, but to possess that level of self-awareness to let you know where you're falling short at, and to know I need to sit down and be quiet and just get some peace so I can hear. I need to sit down and be quiet and say, okay, where do I want to be next? And just, talking to the
Mm-hmm.
Lord in prayer, as you said, I think that that's huge. That really is for every woman on their journey, wherever you are. Like, to be able to say no. And it's time for me to say, sometimes I'm going to have to be in a season of just this is a no season, you know,
Yeah.
and it's a yes to me though, because sometimes
Right.
we don't learn how to do that really well,
Mm-hmm.
up on the type of environment that you grew up in, or the culture that you come from.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say no. And so the later you learn along the journey, the more difficult it is. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that muscle that you never use, that no muscle. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that you just definitely dropped some major wisdom right there by, letting us know that that's something we do along the journey, need to start practicing and knowing how to say no. Because
Yeah.
as women, we are called upon a lot. And, for support, we are supporters. We come alongside and
Yeah.
we are help meets and
Mm-hmm.
our wife. So we understand what that means, coming alongside somebody and supporting. And so you do have to be able to allow God to pour into you, and others, with the Holy Spirit to pour into you as well. That definitely is important along the journey.
Yeah, it is, because I think that what happens is that if you keep yourself, it's kind of a cover up. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit of a cover up. You're so busy helping everyone else. You're so busy doing involved in so many other things that you haven't, that that there's another level for you,
Mm-hmm.
but yet you're doing so much sometimes to cover up, because that level means you got to sit down and have to plan, and there's some work into that level.
You're gonna
But
work at that
yeah,
level.
it's some work until get into that next level. And
Mhm.
so instead of you doing that and putting in that work and sitting down and focus on it, you cover up by saying,
Doing,
well, I'm doing
doing.
good. I'm doing for this person. I'm doing that. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And I realized to myself, I said, I want to be at this point at 50. I want to be doing this at 50. But then I said, but what have I sat down to do to get to that point when I'm 50? And what have I done to get to that next level when I'm 50? I haven't done anything, because I'm doing everything for everybody else, or in everything, and I
Mm-hmm.
have not sat down and said, you need to sit down and see who you are and what you were, where you want to go. And so that's where I'm at in this season of how can I make myself better to get to that next level.
When you said just the last part, LaMetria, you said you need to sit down and see who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important point for
Mm-hmm.
all women to know. Different phases. I'm sure our spouses know, or those that you may be dating or whatever, they know that you have, well, let's keep it at husbands. They know that you have changed. If you've been married a length of time, 10 years or more, they have seen changes. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's important for us to recognize that I'm changing. And let
Mm-hmm.
me, sit down with this and figure out what am I changing or becoming, or
Right.
evolving into, and am I going to like it once I get to the end of it? And
Yeah.
some habits that I have right now, are they good habits that are contributing to someone that I'm going to like at 50? Or are they
Right.
habits that's contributing to somebody that I'm pretty much going to be like, oh, I didn't know I was doing all that to become that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. You said it exactly right. Yes.
Look, it's so funny how we both hesitated with the word. You said peri, or I said perimenopausal, and you were like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that. Even that along the journey, I'm trying to embrace that better every day. But
Mm-hmm.
I was telling my friend one day, she texted me when I was in the gym working out, and I sent a picture of myself in the gym working out. And she was like, girl, you in that gym. But this friend of mine, she's younger than me. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like, girl, this perimenopausal, I gotta be in, or perimenopause, I gotta be in the gym. And then
Yeah.
I text her and she said, okay. And then I text her back and I said, that perimenopause will fool the very elect if it could. And I said, you can't let it catch up with you. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So it's like, even when we're talking, you hear a lot of talk, even, First Lady Michelle, the former First Lady Michelle Obama is doing a lot of having a lot of conversation surrounding menopause. And we hear that,
Mm-hmm.
that's menopause. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about perimenopause, meaning
Mm-hmm.
around before you get to
Yeah,
pre.
yeah, exactly.
And so I'm almost there, not there. So I think as we journey along womanhood, there's some things that we can be proactive about.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's one of them that I try to get ahead of as much as I can. So yeah, man, Lamitra, I really love that when you shared that, who do I want to be when I get there, and am I, doing those things, sitting quietly to say, okay, well, yeah, that's who I'll look like when I get there. And
Right.
yeah, that's really, really, that's some wisdom. Okay. So I guess one more, since I've kept you on this long.
Oh, no problem.
Is there any advice that you would leave any woman that's listening to this broadcast today? Any advice that you can give them to remain hopeful on the journey of womanhood? Because we know it has its ups and downs, it has its good days, it has its bad days, it has accomplishments, it
Mhm.
has conquering, like,
Mhm.
So is there any advice that you could give women to remain hopeful on this journey of womanhood?
Um, I would say that in the journey, sometimes you always get to a point to where you feel like you're stuck. That is just a plateau. You're not going to go anywhere, and sometimes you may stay in that phase, in that season, for longer than you expected, maybe some years in that season. But if you're in that season, don't think your journey is over. Just know that in the midst of that season, that's when you need to sit still, and that you need to reach within and see how can you get yourself ready for the next level that you're about to go to in your journey, which is only going to be a level going up.
Mhm.
But you have to get yourself prepared for that, and seeing why you're stagnant in that area, because there may be some areas within you that needs to be changed, so that when that next level come, you're ready for it. And
Mhm.
so don't give up. Don't think that this is where it ends. Don't think that that's It's only a yield sign. What I'm saying? It's just a yield sign, just a slight yield sign that's holding on for that's there for a while or whatever. It's not a stop sign because it's going to turn green at some point. And so just make sure that you don't give up or whatever. And when you feel yourself in this journey, always be honest with yourself. If you know that you're not within where you want to be, if you know that you hear, if you have that relationship with God, you hear God telling you that you need to start focusing on you, it's okay to do that. You can still serve, you can still help. We're nurturers, that's what we do. You can still do that, but but also make sure that you focus on you. Because if you don't focus on you, you can't be better for somebody else. And you can't help them to be able to focus on themselves and become better too. So just continue on this learn, make every mistake be a lesson. Don't let it be your downfall or your stopping stone in completing your journey. Just let it be a lesson to be better in your next level of your journey.
Oh, I love it, LaMetria. I love it. I love it. I love it. Y'all, this was so good talking to you, LaMetria. So
Thank you.
where LaMetria has an Instagram, and she's always on there motivating and encouraging people. So what's your Instagram handle, LaMetria?
Yeah, my Instagram is faithful underscore like 123.
All right, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, and I put it in there. But it's yeah, it's definitely if you can, I need to get better on them. I can say myself, that's the one thing. When I realized that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do on there, I was encouraging more and more people. I was like, take a step back so that you can make sure that you have it within you to be able to encourage others. So
Amen.
that's just another part of the journey. Encourage yourself so that you can encourage others.
Amen. I love that, LaMetria. We all have stopping points, and we need to stop. Like when you go to
Yeah.
bed tonight, that's a stopping point. It's for those
Mm-hmm.
cells to be able to turn over and do what they need to do, so you can be a whole functioning body.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Okay. That's why we need to get sleep, right? Because we
Right.
need to be able to have rejuvenate for the next day. You have to
Exactly.
sit back and be quiet sometimes so that you can be loud later on.
Right. Right. I love Demetria. Demetria, I appreciate you spending some time with the Faith to Feet audience today. And I also want to share one thing. Demetria and I are in community together. We're a part of the Wives Council. It's a
Mhm.
community that I started with married women. Wives
Mhm.
is just an acronym for women intentionally valuing every season of marriage. And as you've heard Demetria today, she's talked about some seasons where you may be going, and some seasons where you have to pause or take a break. But marriage is just like that. We have some seasons where we're just in love and it's bliss, and we have
Mhm.
where it's a rough patch. But in Wives Council, we only give wisdom to all of the women in there to help problem solve, to help give us belly laughs, and just solutions for our day-to-day lives to be better women and to be better wives. So if you are a married woman and you're interested in being a part of this free community, it's a safe space. I would encourage you to join. You heard all the gems that LaMetria was giving. You can go to my website, faith, the number two, feet.com, and there's a link for you to join Wives Council. We meet via Zoom every Thursday, 8:30 to 9:30, and that's Eastern Standard Time. And last, I want to just say if you are interested in establishing your walk in womanhood, establishing your walk in marriage or motherhood, I am your transition advisor. You can go to the website, same faith2feet.com, and schedule an appointment or a consultation. I would love to talk with you. And Demetria, I just want to say thank you so much again. I was so blessed by that conversation.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. All right. Peace.
Bye.